Alright guys, what's up? So, just moments ago, I was in a conversation with a couple of gentlemen who were 19. I'm 27. These cats were 19 at the University of Arizona, where I just started my fall semester. And I found myself at this event, a little social thing, very, very small, sort of by happen chance. I don't know, that's probably not the right word. But I just found myself in this place, and I'm talking to these guys. Just met them both, and very quickly it becomes clear to me that they both sort of completely, like, one of them's like kind of a nerd guy studying like personal finance or whatever, and one of them was kind of more of a bro, worked in some construction, in high school. But both of them are like just not feeling like they belong. Not feeling like they fit in. They don't have a tribe, so to speak. And I started telling them about the military, because I was in the Air Force for 6 years. And I told them that they said, what is one thing that you learned in the military that helps you out in like normal life? And I said, I learned how to work with a very diverse group of people and leadership, but mainly that first point, the diversity. And I said, oh really? Like, what do you mean? And then I started to tell them that it's actually very diverse, and I said the college is actually very not diverse. And then I realized that's hilarious, because so here's the kind of the concept for the video here. The college, and pretty much all colleges, from what I can tell, they're advertising diversity, and they're preaching diversity, and they're selling diversity, and they're pushing diversity, right? And it's all like, be who you are. We want all kinds of people here. Our strength is our diversity. And literally, I mean, almost every single class, they're talking about this sort of thing, using this type of language. But I say, it doesn't feel that way to me. This is what they tell you. But then if I go and try to, have a different opinion than them, or I try to say, well, hey, here's my life experience. Here's what I've seen in my life to be true. It almost feels like I just can't say that at all, because it doesn't fit the sort of accepted culture within the university. And even though there's all types of people there, all different shapes and sizes and colors, and genders, it doesn't fit the culture. It doesn't fit their story, their worldview, so you can't say it. So they're advertising diversity while enforcing uniformity. And I was putting this together as I'm talking to these two young gentlemen, and I can see it in their eyes, like it's resonating. They're like, without saying it directly, and they sort of, afterwards they're saying like, yeah, I know what you mean. I know exactly what you're saying, and they're feeling it. I mean, they're in it, And I said the military advertises uniformity, pushes uniformity, it sells uniformity. It's like, whoever you are, you can come here and you can become this. You can stop being what you were, and you can be this. Whatever this is. You can go be Army Strong, or whatever you. And I told them, like, when you go to the military, they will overtly tell you that you need to set aside your personality, set aside your culture, your language, whatever's normal to you. You need to set that aside when it comes to the mission. So you prioritize the mission over yourself, basically, and your own wants and needs and desires. And as long as everybody does that, then you will all be united behind the mission. You will be uniform, and you will be united. And so, but what becomes the reality is, like, as long as you're united behind the mission, then you can be whoever you want to be in reality. Like, if you grow up in the South, and you talk to your family in some sort of Creole, and there's certain foods that you like all of that, that's still who you are. You can still do that. You can be that. You can cook that food, and people will like you for those things. They'll want to come over and try that food they've never tried before. You have some guy from Africa who learned English just a few years ago, and he has all kinds of weird cultural stuff that he does. But as long as you and him are both united behind the same mission, then you're brothers and you're working side by side. And so in reality, that is true diversity, because I said, you might find yourself on a team of just you and another guy, or a few guys, and you all have completely different cultural backgrounds and ideas and opinions and political beliefs and ideological and religious beliefs, and yet you all work together, cohesively, and you legitimately feel like these people are your family, they're your brothers. And so while the military is pushing uniformity, it actually allows for diversity. And while the university is pushing diversity, what they're creating is uniformity. And so that's a real doozy, real counterintuitive thing there, but I really believe that that's true. And I'm saying this to these guys, and they're like, this is really making things click in their head. And I told them I'm just trying to express all this to them because I'm in college as an old guy. I'm not old, but like to these 19-year-olds, I'm old as a 27-year-old. And I said, I'm here as an old guy, and I've seen what's out there. I've worked with a lot of different people, and I've worked at different companies, and I was in the military. I've been to a lot of places. And so while I don't feel like I fit in the university, I don't feel like I belong there, I know that's just the nature of the university. Like it has nothing to do with me as a person. Some places you will belong and some places you will not belong. That's life. But I said, if I was there as a 19-year-old and this was my first exposure to like kind of the real world, though it's not, but you think it is. As a 19-year-old, you think that you're in the real world, and then you feel that way. I would take it personally. And I said, I would have felt very confused and alone, and all these different things. And so that's why I'm trying to share this with these guys. And this is my last point here, is I believe, because one of them said he's religious, he goes to church, and the other one said he's very religious and he really loves God. And so that's cool. It's great to hear. And I told them that I'm religious as well, and I really think that the Lord put me there, and praise God that He did. He put me there because I think those young men needed to hear that message, even if they don't do anything with it, just to understand a little bit more of the context of the dynamic that they're in. I hope that that's valuable to them. And the one guy, he was kind of ecstatic. He was pretty just like chill and calm when I first met him, and then at the end he was really excited almost, that I was telling him these things, because it's like he was learning that there's more out there, there's other options, and it seems like he's he might go talk to a recruiter, and maybe he'll join the military, and I think that would be good for him, and he could go to college afterwards, because he was sort of he's in a certain degree path but doesn't really know what he's doing afterwards or where he's going, or nothing's calling him, so hopefully they both stay in the good graces of the Lord, and they stay on God's path for them, and I'm just grateful to have been there, and it's really cool for me. Like I got to kind of put that together, that counterintuitive realization that I had about the university versus the military. So that's all for today. Thanks for tuning in. God bless y'all.